This is Mongolian Mindset, and today we're going to be breaking down another temperament of Linda Barron's. Today we're going to be breaking down structure versus motive, or systematic versus interest. Okay, we'll be getting into that. We have our PowerPoint here, and we'll be breaking in stories as we go. Let's get into it. Chris, you ready for it?
Hmm?
I said, you ready for this, man?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the series on how to find anyone's personality types. Like we say in our typing videos, we have these metrics here. The last one we broke down was abstract versus concrete. And today we'll be breaking down structure or systematic versus motive / interest, okay? This is all from Dr. Linda Barron. So check out her work. She is great. Okay, so structure, I'm just gonna go with structure and motive, okay? It's all about the things we focus our attention on. Often in communication, we find out our interests and attention goes to either the structure or the system of something or the people's motives. So for myself, no matter what situation I'm in, I'm always looking at the system behind things. If I feel as though I can get my hands on that system, I can get everything I want every time. So I don't really care about what the people's motives is, and I never do. Because if I can get my hands on that system, I can bend that motherfucker to my will, and I can get what I want every fucking time. Okay. As in Christian's more interest, he's gonna be looking at what people get out of a situation, trying to find the win-win for everybody. That's gonna be more of his aim of things. As of myself, I'm kind of looking at the best way to do things all the time. So you have your structure types. That's going to be your guardians and your rationals. Your guardians are your SJs. Your rationals are your NTs. Your interests are going to be, or motive, that's going to be your artisans or catalysts. Okay. So structure systematic. Structure seeks to order and organize. Okay. Have a measure to take control over their lives, problems, or situation. Do not like to be at the mercy of random forces. So I'm just giving a little breakdown of how I am. So I keep baby wipes in my gym bag. I keep baby wipes in my work locker. I keep baby wipes in my car. Basically at any time I have baby wipes because I don't want to be taking a shit without having control over taking that shit. If I'm taking a shit, I'm gonna be enjoying fucking life. Okay, that's at the bare least. Okay, that's just how systematic I am. I keep things like that all around. Just overall, I'm always trying to get a routine or measure of control over my life. I don't like to be at like taking advantage of at any point in time or being like out there like that. They also wonder how things are organized in sequence. Okay, how's this organized? How's this going? They notice and care about methods, requirements, or rules. Um, they're looking at the order of things. When they look at things, the content of the communication, they'll miss the content of the communication and the real purpose behind a behavior. Because that's not the aim of them. That's not what systematic people are looking at. They're more on case of, how can I make this work? How can I sequence this? How can I what's the method behind this? What's the technique behind this? So the systematic people focus on building one framework that prescribes the best way to do things. So another story would be like me and Christian, we went to, what's up?
One thing that you missed too is not just to make it work for you. You're trying to make it reproducible.
Yeah.
So that you could do it over and over and over and over and get the best outcome every time. The same way, doing it the same way.
Yeah. So like another thing would be like in video games. Whenever I play Christian, he knows that I'm gonna play it very systematically. Like so he knows what sometimes it annoys me playing him in a video game because he knows this move's coming after this move because this move coming after this move. Because Mercer's always going back to his system. But when I play Christian in a fighting game, I have to change it up sometimes. The thing is like, let's say we're playing Street Fighter or something, I find out a system that beats his ass, right? And then he'll break that system. Then I'm losing. Then I got to come up with a new system because now he knows all the moves that I'm gonna do. So he's blocking it, he's throwing him in, he's doing all this other shit. I'm getting overly frustrated with this shit, right? And then like we used to have this joke where like we send a mother, like whoever loses gets sent to bed, right? So, like I'd say I sent this motherfucker to bed, and that's because I beat his ass. I had my system going, and then he breaks my system. And then I'm like, fuck. And then he's beating the shit out of me until I can get out of my old system and find a new system that beats him. Okay. And when I find a new system, now he's got to crack that system again. And we just go back and forth all the time. There's been video games where I beat Christian 100 times in a row.
Yeah.
Okay. And he broke that system and whoo, I was so pissed. You know
And
that, Christian?
after a while, even before we knew about these like things about us, that his systematic, I'm more, motive, interest. What I figured out was that the best strategy was for me not to have a system, right? So then I would, let's say I had a certain fighting style, I would have to throw a random move out. You know what I mean? Like there couldn't be a pattern with my moves. It would have to be like a random jab here and there, like to throw off the system.
Yeah, because
Because
I have that
if you
crazy
have a
thing.
system, Mercer will figure it out and exploit it. But if you don't have a system, then he has to deal with the randomness.
And
You
it
know what I mean?
frustrates me like crazy. So he learned that. He learned that. And now it's always been hell fighting him in the fighting games. But before, I could get him down to a pattern, like to the point where I would just like humiliate him and laugh at him. And like he'd go down to the ground and I knew he was doing this move and I'd block it in his face and then counter it. And then he'd be like, oh, But now he figured that out. And it makes my life fucking hell whenever we play fighting games. It's like we go back and forth, like I said.
Yeah.
It's never easy. But focus on building one framework that prescribes the best way to do things. Another thing would be like when me and Christian go, we were playing skee ball, right? And I'm like, Christian, this is the best way to throw the ball to get it into the 100 every time, right? And Christian just immediately reject that. He's like, no, bro, I gotta have this feeling. When I get this feeling in my hand and when I throw it this way, that's when it goes in. And I'm like, bro, if you hit this spot on the wall right here, it goes in every time. And he's like, man, fuck that, you know. But that's the best way. I'm looking at the best way to do it always. Like, okay, I don't really care about all that. It's like the best way. You almost become a slave to it. Systematic types do so based on a model or label with their frameworks, focus on technique, methodologies, or procedures. They'll have a structure, a model. They are process over people and self. Like my systems are over me. Like I ride with them over me. That's why I build them because I trust them. I've talked about it in other videos where I wasn't really great at a lot of things. And the things that gave me the edge over other people was building systems. Those systems allowed even somebody like I always tell people that I wasn't that great at everything. I always had to devise a system or something. Even if it was learning how to ride a bike, I couldn't ride a bike normally. I had to like kick off a wall and keep going a little bit, pedal it, kick off a wall, keep going on pedaling it until I was able to actually learn how to ride a bike. My brother was riding around that bitch as soon as he got on the bike. I was like, fuck this guy, man. Fuck this motherfucker. But yeah. So Christian, you want to go ahead and hit the motive? Because that's you.
Yeah, sure. So motive or interest people, they focus on the intent and why people do things. So they're more people focused and they communicate with them to try to get their best interest and oneself best interest fulfilled rather than force them into a one size fit all system, right? So they look for the intention in people and they ask questions so that everybody could get the best out of both worlds, right? They notice and refer to what's in it for the other person, and they're more comfortable when everybody's motives are clear. So, for example, like we had a friend who came to us with a business idea, right? And he was like, well, Mercer, if you put in money, and Christian, if you put in money, then we can build this bar, and you guys could just be silent investors. Like you guys, basically, you don't have to do anything. You just provide money and the business works and then you get money out of it, right? And then me being an interest person, I asked him, I said, well, if you have enough money to start the bar on your own, then why do you need us? What's what's in it for you if I give you money? You know what I mean? Like in my head, it's like, yeah, I could get money out of it, but basically, it's like if you could do it on your own, you'd rather just do it on your own, right? So I'm looking out for his best interest, not necessarily my own in that case, but I'm trying to make it work so that everybody gets the best out of both worlds and their interests are fulfilled. That's what an interest person does, or a motive person does. Is basically they're looking out for everybody's interest. Now, if you are a selfish interest person, then you only look out for your own interests. And that's where people can look at you sideways, because it's basically you're always trying to take advantage of people. But if you are a moral interest or motive based person, you try to look out for everybody's interests, you know, and try to make it work for everybody.
Yeah, but again, like sometimes, if you're a very systematic person, you can be taken advantage of by somebody who's interest or motive based. Because look how Christian was looking at it. I didn't even think about that ever. I was like, oh, Mike wants us to do this. Oh, you know, whatever, I'm down, whatever. Because I'm not even thinking about that. But Christian looking at it, and that can protect you, because it's like he said, you know, if you can do this by yourself, why the fuck you need us? What's going on here? You know, I never once crossed my mind. But like in certain situations, that might actually help you. So if you're a systematic person, you need to take time to maybe think of, you know, what the fuck is going on here.
Right, because I mean, interest person could come to you and say, hey, I got this system, and show you all the numbers or whatever. And you say, hey, the numbers work out, so therefore let's do it, right? But you're not taking into account what the motive is behind what he presented to you. So the system could actually work against you later on, because you don't take in, or you don't account for the human element, the psychological element, you know. Like if he, let's say in that scenario, if he were to start a business, maybe year one would be okay, but year two, year three, year four, where, you know, let's say he's doing all the work in the business and you're not, but you're getting money, he might say, well, I'm doing all the work, why am I paying these guys money? You know, so the business idea wouldn't work. The system worked, the numbers were good, but the psychological element, the human element wasn't there. Therefore, we didn't do it. You know what I mean? That's how I took it into account, being an interest motive person versus Mercer. He might have went along with it because he might say, well, the numbers look good, they're in my favor, so let's do it, you know. So.
Another thing was, what was I about? Damn, I just forgot what I was gonna say. Move on. Oh, Chris.
Okay, so motive, interest, continued. Interest tackle each situation uniquely to find the win-win situation. Interest set their expectations based on the interests of others as well as their own interests. Like I said, if you're a moral person, interest, because motive people can be very dangerous if they're not moral, because they're taking into account what they get out of the situation. If they don't take into account what you get out of the situation, then you're getting taken advantage of. And, you know, that happens all the time. So they tend to negotiate. They're good at haggling and will move the goalposts, at least my interest over your interest. Now, one thing that I used to get in trouble with Mercer's brother is that because I'm a motive interest person, I will present a scenario, right? Like let's say we're doing a business idea, right? I'll say, okay, scenario A, if we do it this way, you know, I get this out of it, you get this out of it, right? And that's just a scenario. It's like I'm just bringing the idea forth to discuss what everybody, parties involved, get out of a situation. Now his brother.
Before we ever, I'm telling you, before we ever got into this, like, because me and my brother are systematic, we never look at motive or interest. And the word that we used to call Christian was an opportunist. That's
Yeah,
the word he used to call Christian.
they used to call me an opportunist because I used to detail what everybody got out of an exchange, right? But that doesn't make it immoral. But to a systematic person, it might seem that way, because a systematic person ain't even thinking about that. So just me bringing it up seems immoral, because it's like, why are you worried about what you get out of the situation?
Make us paranoid. You make us paranoid then.
Right. So in that scenario, I used to get in trouble for that, because I used to be like, hey, if we do A, I get this out of it, you get this out of it. But for a systematic person, that's off-putting. It's almost like, why are you even bringing that up? You know, why are you even bringing it up what everybody gets out of a situation? But to a person like me, it does the opposite. It eases tension, because now once I know what I'm getting and you're getting, it's a fair exchange. You know, once we reach to an agreement, I'm sure that it's a fair exchange, you know. So it's just different perspectives, different ways of thinking, you know.
Yeah. So like a lot of times, like Christian just said, people talk in two different languages. Me and my brother, we've always talked in systematic languages. So to us, we never looked at things like that. So when Christian would do it, it's like, bro, we had a term for Christian was called, I mean, we didn't know that he was motive or anything. We just said the motherfuckers are opportunists.
Yeah. One time I got in trouble with Mercer's mom too. Same thing, because it was like I was gonna stay at their house, right? And so basically his mom would always like let me stay at their place for like a long amount of time. And I wanted to pay rent, you know, because I figured like it was only fair. Like if I'm gonna
Make it a
stay at
win-win. Make it a win-win.
yeah, like if I'm gonna stay at a place, I figured I should have paid rent. So I offered the idea of me like paying a certain amount of rent, and
Thought it was a good idea.
she got upset at me because it was like, to her it was like insulting that I would bring up me paying rent at the house. To me, took me by surprise, but to people who think systematically, it's totally different. To them, it's like, why are you even mentioning rent? Like you're staying here, you know. That is almost like an insult type of thing. But it took me by surprise. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. That's crazy. I think the only other person who's interested is what, Jared?
Yeah, Jared. Jared's
Jared
interest.
is Jared's interest as fuck. Yeah.
Yeah, Jared's one of our friends. He's also interest. He's
But
also like,
Jared, but Jared is a different type of interest. Jared is the type of highway robbery interest. Like he gonna bend you over and fucking your ass type interest. Like when Christian try to make it good for everybody. No. Jared about to make it a highway robbery.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. There's two ways. There's different ways to be interest. Also, there's different ways to be systematic. It's just, it depends on like where you're at in your development and like your morals too, you know, like where you're at when it comes to, because maybe back in the day when I was younger, less developed, maybe I was less fair about the interest aspect of my thinking. But as you mature, hopefully you become better, you know. Hopefully, not
Yeah.
everyone does, but
And I think a big thing that people miss or actually get wrong in the community is that they think like ENTPs, they everybody in the world has a type of interest to them, but like we said earlier, they're devising a system in their interest. Okay, they believe as though if I can build a system, I'll get what I want. You know, so they'll build a system in their interest. That doesn't mean that they're interest based because their first thing is to look at the system to build a system to get what they want. So you'll see like ENTPs build these courses and stuff online where they just plow people for money. Okay, obviously those are in their interest. Okay, like use your brain. But that's just how things go. Like where their focus is lying is on a system or creating a system. It's still in there. Like that system that they're creating is still in their fucking interest. Okay. Like when you create a system, you're doing it from your own interest perspective. Like when I think about my system or I devise a system, I'm thinking this is in my interest. This is how I'm going to get the result every time, reproducible, not have to think, not to do anything. Every time I walk in there, it's always going to be the same. No thinking, anything like that. That's why I like systems. I can walk in any, like, let's say at work, I have a system that I go in and it's placed every fucking day. I walk in there, the same thing. And that's because I could walk in there, have brain dead, and still do the job. And that's why I create systems with a lot of things. So yeah. And as always, we have our references, Linda Behrens. Pick up her work. This is the temperament book, but slowly and surely, me and Christian will be breaking down these metrics, the interaction styles, and the temperaments. Okay. This is a wonderful video, guys, and we hope to see you guys on the next episode. Right, Christian?
that's right, man. That's right.
All right, you guys take it easy.